In today's Leeds news, more details on Harry Gray potential loan. Premier League clubs vote on new financial rules. Lucas Perri's last-minute Leeds United choice. Dan James could set Leeds milestone. Hey folks, welcome back to The View. Saturday morning, the 22nd of November with your Leeds United news. Sorry I couldn't get a video out yesterday. It was late getting back from Leeds, but I did want to point out to this and just say a massive thank you to absolutely everybody who has watched our content over the last 3 years. For those who voted for us to get into the shortlist for the Football Content Awards, and we did manage to walk away with both awards on Thursday night at Ellen Draw. We picked up the Best Premier League Podcast and Best Premier League content creator. So just want to say a huge thank you to absolutely everyone for all the nice words, for everyone who likes what we do and doesn't like what we do, but as long as you watch the content, that's all that really matters. And I appreciate absolutely everybody who has helped us to get to this stage. It means a huge amount, and I'm incredibly grateful, as are the lads as well, that you've helped us to get to this point. So yeah, massive thank you. Completely shocked on the night as well, but yeah, again, massive thanks to everybody. Let's crack on and let's get stuck into some Saturday morning news. We'll start off with Harry Gray. Last week we heard the strong rumour that several championship clubs were interested in taking Harry Gray on loan to the Championship in the January window once it opened. There's been plenty of interest in him, according to lots and lots of sources, but there are lots of Leeds United fans who would rather see Harry Gray stay at Leeds and get some opportunities and some minutes in the Leeds United first team in the Premier League this season. But according to Leeds Live, they say that sources have told them that a January loan move for Harry Gray to the Championships is not out of the realms of possibility, but no call will be made on that situation until the window opens in January. Gray's got 5 goals and 1 assist so far in the EPL2 for the Leeds United under-21s, but he's also got 2 goals and 2 assists in the EFL Trophy against more senior men sides as well. But Football League World have also added some extra detail to this as well, stating that a loan is expected with Swansea, Charlton, Hull City and Derby all competing to get his loan signature once the window opens. They say that Leeds are ready to sanction a temporary move that would see him get much wanted first team minutes. And again, it's a strange situation. You've got a lot of the fan base kind of stuck in the middle of I understand that if he's not going to play minutes for Leeds, it would be beneficial that he goes out on a loan and gets some that, but you'd rather see him stay at Leeds and get those minutes. And the more Leeds have struggles in front of goal, the more calls there will be to give a young talented striker like Harry Gray his opportunity in the first team. But yeah, it's either way, as long as he's developing and getting minutes, we'd rather see the benefit here. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens there. There'll be likely more information on this over the next couple of weeks. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Premier League clubs voting on financial rules, and some good news this time around. Some good and some not surprising news coming out of the latest round of Premier League votes on a new financial footballing system that took place this week's. Clubs were voting essentially on 2 separate areas. One was a salary cap, as well as the second one being the one that probably should just be called the Chelsea rule, which was related to the sales of club assets like hotels and women's team to themselves in order to help with a PSR situation. On the second one, Premier League clubs have voted in favour of this, and clubs will no longer be able to sell assets like hotels and women's sites to themselves in order to circumvent the financial rules after they agreed to the new regulations by a very narrow majority on Friday. The vote was narrowly passed for the new financial fair play system based on what they call the squad cost ratio, and that passed on Friday with 14 votes in favour of it, 6 votes against it, which was the minimum number required in order to get that vote passed. So what does this actually mean, and what are the squad cost ratio model look like? Well, it means overall cost for the 2026-2027 season will now have to be limited to 85% of a club's revenue, although teams that compete in UEFA's European competitions will have to adhere to UEFA's model, which is a maximum of 70% of a club's revenue. The model comprises of the player and manager salaries, along with transfer fees and player agent fees as well. The loophole connected to selling capital assets has finally been closed, although it'll be interesting to see how some clubs will try and wiggle around that one and find new areas to try and help with a PSR situation. So that's the good news. That's the positive one. They've actually finally managed to make a decision on this. Now, the not so surprising news. The Premier League clubs also voted on introducing a salary cap. This related to the anchoring system that we discussed a month or so ago that was put forward, and 12 clubs voted against this proposal. 11 voted in favour of it, and 1 club decided to abstain. As we said, you need a 14 club vote in order for that to pass. So it didn't pass in that situation, but all Premier League current rules will remain in place until the beginning of the 2026-2027 campaign. So we're moving away from PSR and we're moving towards SCR models. I'll try and get some more detail on this over the next couple of weeks as well. I'll try and speak to a couple of the football finance guys and get them on. I know it's the sexy topics, it's the exciting topics that we love talking about, football financial rules, but they do have an impact, and Leeds' revenue is in a good position. Leeds are one of the highest revenue clubs, in the Premier League at the moment, so that might actually benefit Leeds in a roundabout way, but we'll try and speak to somebody and get an exact answer of where this positions Leeds United in the new squad cost ratio model. We'll get you more detail on that pretty soon. Let's move on. Let's talk about Lucas Perri's decision to join Leeds. Lucas Perri is still in the very early stages of his Leeds United career, and there's been some positives to the start as well as some criticisms in his pretty stop-start beginning to life in the Premier League. Perri's agent has been speaking this week to Tutto Mercato and said that his client was very close to signing for a Serie A side, but decided at the last minute to make the move to Leeds United. Perri arrived with an injury and managed to get a couple of games under his belt at the start of the season before he had a reoccurrence of the exact same injury that kept him out for several games. His agent Leonardo Cornacini says that he was very close to signing for a big Italian side, but they are happy with the path that he has chosen so far this season. Speaking to Tutto Mercato, Perri's agent Cornacini said the following: "In the last transfer window, we were very close to signing for a big Italian team, but we're happy with Lucas's path. He quickly became an idol in France playing for Lyon, and now he's in the best league in the world. I remember when I first talked about Lucas, no one knew him, and today he's a Premier League keeper." Lucas Perri was very highly praised during his time in France for his performances in the French league as well as his performances in Europe, and his Lyon manager Fonseca back in December described him as one of the best goalkeepers in world football at that time. And I suppose it's true to say, pretty honest at this point, to say that we haven't yet seen that version of Lucas Perri. There's been a couple of glimpses, a couple of moments, although the hope would be that the more that he settles in Leeds and the Premier League and his surroundings, the more we'll start to see of that goalkeeper that Fonseca spoke about. There are assets to him, and it has been a really stop-start season. It's been a weird season for Leeds all around, and a lot of new players coming in, and as I think Howard Wilkinson said back in the day, you shouldn't bring in too many players in one window. It takes them 10 or 11 games before they can acclimatise and get used to things. Daniel Farke spoke last week about the newer players coming in. He's happy with what he's brought in, the characters that he's got, but that it does take time for them to settle into the Premier League and the level that it is. So you just hope they can settle in as quickly as they can now. We've got that 10 games behind us. There's a tough couple of games coming up, but they're all at home, and 3 to 4 at home. So you'll hope we get some positive results in the next couple of weeks. But let's move on. Let's talk about Dan James creeping up on a Leeds United milestone. Dan James, a bit like Lucas Perri, has had a bit of a stop-start to his season for Leeds United so far, but his minutes for Wales during the international break as well as his goal might give Daniel Farke something to think about as they approach the game against Aston Villa on Sunday. But going off Daniel Farke's press conference, maybe it could be Brendan Aronson that will still start on that right-hand side. It would be nice to think that Daniel Farke is playing some mind games here, and we might see Dan James get that opportunity on the right-hand side to give Leeds a little bit of a different attacking threat. But James' on-field record has been quietly creeping up over the past couple of years, and thanks to a statistic online from Johnny Cooper, maybe he's a bit of a Leeds United lucky charm, specifically at Elland Road. In his post on X, Cooper said this: "Leeds United are unbeaten in the last 33 matches at Elland Road when Daniel James has started. He scored 15 goals in those games. It's the longest unbeaten run of a player in the 11 at Elland Road since Eddie Gray between 1971 and 1975, 40 games. It might be a tough one to reach considering the next 3 home games that Leeds United have, but Leeds' home record has been good this season. It has been what has alleviated a lot of stress at times this year, and it will be what Daniel Farke will be hoping the bulk of the 9 wins and 9 draws that he needs to get this season to keep Leeds United in the Premier League. Farke's come out fighting this week. He's talking about getting back to our aggressive self and maybe getting somebody like Daniel James, who's a direct aggressive runner, into the side that can maybe put some crosses in for the 2 big boys up front, whoever he decides to play between Mecha and DCL, and try and get some goals there as well. But he's got decisions to make. He's got a fully fit squad. This man has been in good form for Wales. It'll be interesting to see. I think he's come off the bench in the last 5 games for Leeds. He has to be knocking on the door for a start at this stage. And Brendan Aronson had an incredibly tight turnaround after his games for the USA in the last 2 weeks as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Everyone's fit, everyone's healthy. We'll have a stats pack out later on tonight for you to digest for those who are interested in that stuff. The form guide, team news for both sides, as well as all the information, statistics and data you need going into the game against Aston Villa on Sunday. We'll have a watch along over on bigup.com as well. You can join us over there. Bit of a probably more tame one after the Ireland one during last week. But yeah, we'll see if we go on. And again, just a massive thank you to everybody for supporting the channel. There's some new channel merch at Back4 Clothing as well. You can check that out through the links below if you want to support the channel that way. Outside of that, give us a like on your way out, and I will talk to you over in Big Up tomorrow, the instant match reaction on YouTube straight after, and then back to normal on Monday morning. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.